Tiny Ings, tiny Ings, na 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 na. Tiny Ings, tiny Ings. If rumours are led to be true, if everything's led to be true, that's 4 goals in 2 games for Danny Ings because he did score a hat-trick against Dagenham and Redbridge in a behind-the-closed doors friendly. 60-minute friendly, we believe, and he's rescued West Ham a point today. A game of 2 halves from West Ham, no beating about the bush. It was a game of 2 halves. Let's bring him in. Danny Higgs. La 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 la. Danny Higgs. Danny Higgs.
Jesus Christ.
Game of 2 halves though, Russ.
Do you know what? Tony Gale made a massive, really good point. I thought on the stream, the stream I was listening to, he was like, first half was all down to the the setup. Lopetegui got it wrong first half, and second half we played like we were going to be in the game and we're going to have a go at them, and it was a totally different game. And maybe, but. It's happened pretty much every game we've played. That first half has been poor and the second half has been a lot better when we've made changes. And we still haven't made those changes before. I think if we start off like that, that is the way we need to play.
It's clear as mustard, though, that we've tried and tested a system with specific players, and those players, like for the next game, we can't see that again. Like it's clear to see. Like I'm everyone knows my feelings with regards to Mavropanos. I thought he had a really bad game again today for West Ham, and he's the shakiest option for us. Do you know what? Fair play to Sufal. I thought he came on and done a reasonable job. With all things considered, I always used to think that maybe it was Dinos having to cover for Sufal, but I don't think it is, mate. I think I'm really concerned about Dinos, and I think Todibo has to come into this team. We have to move with that transition now, and I think that has to be the option. But making the substitutions that we did, you could see clearly 6 minutes into the second half that ball playing central midfielders was what held us back in the first half.
Yeah, much better. We seemed a lot more confident on the ball, and Fulham, they responded. They brought on the likes of Tom Kearney on. They brought on, obviously Sander Berger, who's a great player, and I was pretty gutted. He would have been a really good player for us, I think. And as you said, I think that obviously if Emerson going down, it proves to me that obviously clearly Aaron Cresswell is not match fit. So why he was in the squad, I don't know, because you thought that would have been the natural one. But actually, he would have been absolutely ripped a new one by Traore. So it made sense.
I thought Traore had a very, very good game today. He was problematic all game. I think what I saw, Russ, essentially from this game today, if I look at the first half in particular, was the fighting and determination from the two teams. You felt like no matter what, Robinson was having a rotten time against Kudus, but Robinson absolutely turned that game around for himself and ended up causing Kudus problems. Now, Tony Gale, listen, I love Tony Gale. I know we've met him loads of times. We have a chat with him and stuff like that. I don't always agree with his commentary style. He said that Kudus looked disinterested today, and I didn't agree with him at all. I think Kudus was pissed off. He just wasn't getting involved in the game. And the second half, he really struggled. And when he did, Russ, you've seen it 4 or 5 times. They put 4 or 5 players on him. And Robinson, in the end, was getting the better of him. But for me, what we have to do is get our best players on the ball when we go forwards. And fair play to Sufal, quick thinking, throw in. Can't call offside from a throw in. Bowen beats the offside, obviously the offside trap, whatever. There's no offside trap when you do a throw in.
He was doing it for At since when he came on. There was the one where Anderson then fakes an injury to make sure he didn't get make sure he didn't get yellow card and, in the penalty box. Quick ball. It's not hard, is it? It's not hard. Quick transitions, whether it's from a throw on or whether it's from defence into attack. We've got the players to make teams, to hurt teams on the quick transitions. And we just looked a lot. We looked like a totally different side second half.
Oh,
Totally different side.
yeah, totally different side. I thought, like you said, only really a couple of major issues. I know we're not a fan massively of putting Bowen up top, but we've got to work with what we've got with. I thought Somerville done well. I thought he had a good game getting stuck in, and getting in around defenders and things like that. But I think now, do you know what, Russ? We're 4 games in now, and I've seen enough to see what way that I want to see West Ham play. I've seen enough. I don't think it's just me. I don't think it's just me to say that I want that selfishly. I think it's natural. When the commentators are saying it, like the team selection, you cannot have Souček, Alvarez, and Rodriguez
No.
start for West Ham collectively together.
No.
They are what I would thought would be one player with 2 backups.
Yeah, I agree.
Or throw one on as an option at the end, i.e. Souček, if you need a big man in the box, but it needs to be Alvarez and then other players in and around them, because that football suits all those players. Like Kudos in the first half was non-existent unless he came back and done everything he did.
Yeah.
It just defeated the purpose of having a player who is on paper £100 million.
Yeah,
100 million.
Totally right. Totally right. I think it was clear that there was some real issues with that side in the first half. I think everyone saw it. I think obviously Lopetegui saw it because he made the changes at half time, and and what we've known from him previously is it tends to be the 60-minute mark, really. But to do it straight away, you could see it wasn't working, and the flip side might have been also, not saying that was the way he was planning to do it, but maybe he was. Maybe he was going to give Paqueta 45 minutes because he weren't fit enough, or he'd just come back late from Brazil, or maybe he was going to, but they thought, okay, let's give him a half rather than starting from the top. I don't know. We don't know. We can't second guess the sort of decisions he made, but we can, I can commend the substitutions because I think he's made some good substitutions. He's done it before as well. He hasn't been afraid to make those hard decisions. Taking off a Paqueta or a Bowen without thinking twice. That wouldn't have happened before. So yeah, I think now we go into the Chelsea game really with some key issues which we know we have to resolve. As you said, I think Mavropanos. He was poor. Hopefully, Emerson's injury isn't that bad.
He doesn't look. He looked uncomfortable coming off the park there. I've seen that. That's going to be a concern for me. Is his fitness levels, and he was still limping at the end there. So I think we have to be kind of mindful. Do you know what? Again, a bit of naivety from Tony Gale saying he needs to be He said something like he needs to be a bit more of a warrior, and I felt like saying, Jenky's fucking lying. Like, his knee has collided with another player's knee, and it's probably hit an awkward area of his knee.
I think because I think because obviously he'd done his knee, he'd injured himself in the first half, didn't he? And it was almost like a reoccurrence, and I think that was the issue. Yeah. And Gale maybe missed the first bit and just saw the second collision, but that aggravated the thing he went down before. Look, I mean, there's clearly some quick fixes to the lineup. I wouldn't expect when we play Chelsea next week that you'll have those 3 starting in midfield. Paqueta will be fit again. Will be back. He'll be playing as a 10, I'd imagine. And whether he goes with a Somerville, whether obviously Fulkrug is likely to be back for the Chelsea game. How does that all work? There's loads of really interesting, we don't know what the reaction is going to be in terms of the team selection next week. And again, I love the fact that we don't know what the 11 is going to be, because how can Enzo know what the 11 is going to be for Chelsea? You know what I mean? So we all thought, we didn't think Antonio was going to start potentially. And that's for me is a concern as well. I thought he had a very poor game, poor half. Antonio first half, again kept on bouncing. The ball just kept on bouncing off him. I thought he looked quite ineffective.
And
I think until the Chelsea game comes around, we don't know whether the lessons learned have been learned. Because
Yeah.
clearly, he made changes to change the style of play, to change the formation, and it worked. And
Yeah.
that seems to have worked every time he's done it now. So why can't we just start the way we finished the game?
Yeah.
Set the tempo, and then if we're up, if we're 2-0 up, whatever, then bring on the double pivot, then bring on the likes of Rodriguez, then bring on the likes of Souček, Soufal to tie up the game. That's the way to do it. It's not rocket science, is it?
It's really
So,
for me. It's clear, and for me, I would be surprised. I would be surprised now if we don't see those transitions take place. We're 4 games in. They've got a good, they understand the club now enough time. They understand each other ish to a certain extent. Especially, I suppose the only one I've seen enough of Todibo. He's been there enough to play, right? Unless there's something else going on that we don't know about. But he has to play because Mavropanos can't keep playing. Mavropanos was at fault for West Ham's goal. Possibly harsh, but essentially
he was. He missed it. He called for offside of it, and then he stops, and then I think he assumes that Smith Rowe isn't going to get the ball, and then he gets the ball, he keeps it in, and then he runs up, doesn't really put a hard press on him, and then gets nutmegged at the ball across. That could have been stopped quite easily if you weren't playing. That was a fucking high line he was playing as well. That was a very high line. And for someone like Smith Rowe, who isn't like lightning quick, to have beaten the trap, so to speak, that was very poor. Yeah. Very poor by him.
I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, we got away with that one," and I think partly to do with the fact that our first half performance is the thing that let us down. But at the end of the day, we were coming at them. Bowen had what a save from Leno in the second half. Bowen, great ball in from Kudus.
Great feet.
Yeah, great feet from him. Fast thinking, and nearly got West Ham in with a chance there to equalise earlier. And do you know what? To be honest with you, Russ, the game finished a little bit too early for me.
Yeah,
because I think you said, did you say at half time, or did someone else say it in the chat? I couldn't help but think that if we did get an equaliser, we could have gone on to win it. Yeah.
You could see the momentum shift, and then for that, if we'd scored in the 60th minute or something like that, I think we'd have won the game because we were in the ascendancy, and then they were starting to play a little bit more defensive. They were bringing on sort of the rear guard action. I mean, you look at they brought on Reece Nelson, Harrison Reed, Sanderberg, Tom Kearney, and Rodrigo Muniz. We brought on Carlos Soler, Lucas Paqueta, Somerville, Soufal, and Danny Ings. We've got a squad, and I think we've got a head coach who hopefully can utilise the squad to maintain freshness, maintain people hunger, competition for places, because that's what we want. We don't want the same 11 every week. There's 4 or 5, maybe 6 players who are likely to start every game, but those 4 or 5 other players, it could be 2 or 3 players in either of those positions.
Yeah,
and that's what's exciting for me.
And I think what's exciting is that after 4 games, okay. All jokes aside, let's move on from the 5-0 defeat last year. There's progression from that 5-0 defeat though, because what we saw last year was an utter domination of us and no fight at all. Where at least today we saw changes and fight. Right, so there's progression. We saw glimpses of players that were like, okay, Somerville, he looks the business. He looks like he's going to get involved. He looks like he's going to turn up and do a job. We've tried and tested, and I feel like Lopetegui's got no shame in changing things up quickly. So therefore, now we've tried and tested those 3 midfielders together. Now we see it's not going to do a job. So therefore, moving forward, I don't expect to see that happen again. I now need to hope that we see the change under Konstantinos Mavropanos. The utilisation of Danny Ings, 10 minutes to go, put on a forward who gets goals, and it makes sense, and honestly, we probably wouldn't have seen that as much last. I don't know. Would we have seen it much last year?
We would have seen him come on, but he would have come on as a 10.
Yeah, came on as a 10 or something like that. But fair play to Lopetegui. Lopetegui, you have to give him, as much as you can criticise him, you've got to give him credit because he realised he'd done something wrong today, so he changed that at half time. He was never going to change it any other than half time, and he's changed it at half time, so it makes sense. And there you go, Fly Fox Pro. Moyes would not have made those halftime changes. But let's just come away from Moyes for a second. That is exactly what we're in just now, is the Lopetegui era. And he's realised that he's made the mistakes. And I think a game of two halves, in my opinion, we could have actually gone on and won the game. But if you think about it, Fulham could have won the game in the first half.
Yeah.
And didn't take advantage of that situation. And you always felt, I think we said that at half time, the one positive we took from the first half was we're still in the game.
Yeah.
And Russ, Areola didn't have much to do.
He didn't. Little hairy moment in the second half.
Yeah, I think he held on to it. Yeah.
And he could have picked it up rather than think it was a back pass, because it was a deflection. And a little bit flappy there, but at the end of the day, he didn't have much to do. I mean, they had 21 shots on target, but that doesn't add up. They had 21 shots on target, 8 and 12. Where's the other 9? Don't know. He didn't have a lot of shots on target. It says it had 5 shots on target. Don't remember them being 5 shots on target. I think, to be honest, one was he went in, but
Nelson had a shot that kind of just went Areola routine. Kind of, there was quite a few routine catches from Areola. Nothing major, nothing to write home about. I think Leno made the kind of cracking save in the second half.
Yes.
But I think I agree with that point. The way we play and higher up the pitch with the second half performance, I think Danny Ings would suit it a lot better than last season, than we played so deep. And that's the coincidental thing, absolutely, because then you're playing to the players' strength.
Yeah.
And if you want a little bit of a fox in the box, and he's not just a fox in the box. Like he came on the park, and at one point I went, Carlos, I think in the commentary I went, Soler's got the ball just outside the West Ham 18-yard box and punts the ball forward. It was fucking Danny Ings.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like he's there, because he does do that quite a lot. But you don't mind a striker doing that if you've got pace and Kudus and Somerville who can then quickly get forward if the ball gets punted forward. So I don't think anyone's against Danny Ings if we can utilise him well. I don't think anyone's against Antonio if you can utilise him well. I don't think anyone's against any of these players if you utilise them in the right action, and I think that's what we need to do. I think, again, today now, I'm not ruling out Antonio for the season. I'm just thinking we utilise Antonio where necessary. And I tell you what, Russ, just like Danny Ings, bring him on for 10, 20 minutes at the end of a game. If you're struggling, it'll cause people mayhem and problems.
Yeah. And that's how we should be using him.
Yeah.
If we use him that way, and for me, he's got another 18 months in his tank. Doing that sort of 20-minute runs, the occasional start for a cup game. That's how best to utilise him. From the start, it don't work, because and the trouble is with Antonio, I've said it a million times, that when he plays well, the team play well. So he wasn't playing well, and coincidentally, the team weren't playing well. And because as the focal point, you have to make sure the ball's sticky towards you, and it wasn't. It kept on coming. It kept on bouncing off him, or he tried some passes. It wasn't working. So that's the time we go, right. Okay, it's not his day today. He's an enigma player. Sometimes he can be unplayable, absolutely unplayable. But sometimes he, very early on, you know what type of game you're going to get out of Antonio. 20 minutes in, if it's going to be a beast game or it's going to be as Fortune says, almost like a lazy game for him in terms of, just not his day at all.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's when you start him though. That happens.
Yeah,
when you start him.
Yeah. And I think we all fell for that trap, a typical trap of going, not trap, but we fell into that place where you see the West Ham starting 11 and you go, ugh, here we go. Yeah. Like, what are we going to get? And we were proven right. That's the concerning thing. We were proven right. But again, it's just got to be down to, I see changes. I see differences. I see Lopetegui making changes. So I'm having faith that we will see changes. I don't know if he's going to make wholehearted changes against Chelsea, because obviously they've got a really deep threat going forward, with some really clever players going forward. But I don't think you can. It depends on what happens with Emerson. You know, fair play to Wan-Bissaka again. He's had to play out of position already. What 3 or 4 times for West Ham this season? Yeah, and he's obviously showing up and doing what he needs to do. I like how West Ham switch over Somerville and Kudus quite a lot, and it seems to work, and it causes those teams problems. I'm not massively against Bowen utilising him up top when you need to, because I think if he gets that freedom, like, do you know what, Russ? We probably wouldn't have got that goal if Bowen wasn't up top.
No, yeah, good point. Yeah, he would have been tracking back on the right hand side, wouldn't he? Been
yeah.
Down the pitch. Yeah.
So he probably wouldn't have been in that position, and Antonio would never got to that ball. Antonio wouldn't have been in that position to get that ball. I don't even think Fulkrug would have been, to be honest, as well. So I think there are positives to take from a game of 2 halves, and it really was like that. You know, Fulham came into the game a little bit again in the second half, but I think my one concern is we need to give the ball to Kudus. And I'm not just saying it's all about Kudus, but Russ, several times in this game, Kudus had the ball and took on nearly 5 or 6 players and got away with it and kept doing it and wasn't having a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree, totally. I agree. He's so strong. So strong. If you listen to his interview, Wan-Bissaka's interview with Governor B, he talks about he did not realise how strong Mohamed is. He goes, literally in training, you cannot take the ball off him. He is so strong. He's deceptively strong, and it proved it again today. You know, for all Traore's muscles, you know, and bulk, I think you know, Kudus was just as strong in possession, if not stronger. Yeah. Lower centre of gravity, hard to push off, quick feet, always busy, always fast feet, and you can't defend against that. You just can't.
Yeah, no. Somerville looked lively when he came on. He did. Bowen best on the right. So where does this leave Kudus? I think people are crying out for Kudus to play through the middle. Obviously,
yeah.
You know, I'm done. I'm done with 2 central defensive midfielders. I'm done. Today we played 3, but I'm done. I am done with 2. I think there's a time and a place for it. I don't think it's every game.
No, I agree. But that it will be. It's a brave decision to not have, you know, to have that. It'll be a brave decision to play a Paqueta alongside an Alvarez and play Kudus at a 10. I mean, that's basically what we want to see. Some of you on the left, Kudus at a 10, Bowen on the right, maybe Fulkrug up front with a midfield 2 of Paqueta and Alvarez. For me, that's an exciting 6 players there, but that will take some balls to do it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he's still assessing the side. For all the pre-seasons, you had a lot of players like Paqueta and Bowen. They came back late, but they came back because of the internationals and the Euros, same as Tommy Souček and stuff like that. So it was almost like maybe going with a safe approach to start with. In terms of playing it tight. As I said, we came in the game 1-0 down. We were still in the game, and we got something out of the game. You know, the flip side is if we could start how we started and maybe go into the half time at 2-0 down, 2-0 up rather, then to me that means you can bring on the likes of Rodriguez and Souček and stuff and tie it up. But yes.
While we're just on the subject of Souček, let me just bring football prizes. This week's prize. It's quite an interesting one, actually, but it's quite an exciting one, to be honest. It's I think it's a prize that no one would really want to miss, to be honest. It's a signed Lucas Paqueta and Said Benrahma, dual signed and framed Conference League final shirt display from the victory over Fiorentina. All for £3.95. Also features 18 instant win prizes, which include a signed Thomas Souček Conference League final shirt, an Aaron Creswell signed Conference League final shirt, and an Emerson signed Conference League final shirt as well, all for the price of £3.95. So just head over to this link here that I've just put in the chat, and you get a good chance to enter that prize. Very, very good one. So make sure you do go across there and check them out as per usual. Plenty of people in the chat, Russ. What's everyone saying to it?
I think a lot of sentiments that we've got. You know, Ralph saying when I saw Souček and Antonio's side, I had that Moyes feeling. Victor's gone for 2-0, two away wins this season, 4 points. same way same games last year, 0 points and 10 goals against. So that ain't bad. I think it's basically, there's a lot of similar stuff to what we're saying. Yeah, Antonio is a bit of a wreck. Trudge thinks Caduce's selfish and sulky.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Oh, there we go. Paqueta picked up the pace in the games, showed he's the governor, and showed J-Lo why Souček should never get started. Caduce in the middle is a natural position. So frustrating watching him elsewhere.
Interestingly, I would like to know how many times has Tommy Souček been. Hold on a minute. Actually, carry on, Russ. Let me find out something.
I've got what's the stats? I've got in my head.
No, hold on a minute. I've got something here. I just want to have a look at something. I'll let you carry on with the chat.
Tommy Souček, 211 goals at 33. 211 games, 33 goals for West Ham.
No, not that. Okay. Let me just have a look. Yeah.
Trotter's gone to body language, taking on 30-yard shots in terms of Caduce, not tracking back. That's part of the new. He's been told to stay more up front anyway, more forwards, not having to track back as much. So that might be why you think, because obviously everyone was tracking back on David Moyes, but that's not so much the case under Lopetegui. Picked the right side, would have won that game. Totally agree. Caduce should not be messing around.
Right. So there's an interesting stat here with regards to Tommy Souček. He's played 4 Premier League games for West Ham this season. He started 3. He started the first one against Aston Villa and played the whole game. He started the game against Crystal Palace and was substituted with 15 minutes to go. He never started the third game and came on as a substitute against Manchester City, and then was substituted at halftime here at Fulham. So there's a gradual change in that kind of mark, which I think is possibly this small transition that West Ham are making now. So I would be surprised to see, because in all of those appearances, I know he scored against Crystal Palace. I literally said a minute before he scored the goal, Souček needs to come off, and I think that's all he did in that game. So I think there's a high chance that that change will be made in the coming days. But Russ, thank God for that, Anton from Fortunes, hiding down under TV. My big concern lies in defence, and it's Konstantinos Mavropanos. We can't have a player he's too shaky, he's too panicky. The
thing was he, and that's what I didn't understand. That's what I said in the sort of the pre-match bit, is for the last 2 weeks you've had that back four of Emerson, Kilman, Todibo, and Wan-Bissaka have all been training all week, all for the last 2 weeks, and yet Mavropanos comes back from international duty and gets thrown straight in. Now, he had a really good couple of games for Greece. Really good, like good passing stats. I think he had more dribbles than anyone else in the game, or something like that. Again, for the first international, but it's those slight hesitations, and that I'm happy to say, for me, the goal we can see in the first half was all down to him, and that happens far too often for my liking. Now we've got someone like Todibo there who can come in, who is quick, he's no nonsense, he can play a bit, he can put the ball on the floor, and he can do some nice cross-field diagonal passes, and he's a bit of a unit. For me, he comes in for the Chelsea game without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Just has to. A week back with everyone involved, everyone back from international duty, playing, working on that side, working on the sort of the shapes of pattern. Alvarez playing as a CDM, playing Paqueta it's more like the 8 role, and then playing, ideally, Somerville could use Bowen with a central striker. If he's not going to play with us, if he's going to put Bowen up front, then bring in someone like Soler to play in the 8 role, and put Paqueta at the 10, or interchange the two of them. There we go.
Yeah. We saw a little bit of
Todibo. It's Todibo. It's not Todibo. It's Todibo, Michael. There we go. Just let you know.
Todibo.
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 Yeah.
Well.
That's
Listen,
what he
I
says.
don't know, mate.
That's what
I know,
That's what
but
he actually
have
says
you
on
have
his
you
own
actually
name.
seen it in his
Yes.
own name? Is that the one
He's
that the Premier
saying,
League are doing?
yeah, Todibo, Jean-Claire
Todibo.
Todibo, and that's what Martin
Todibo.
tells me. That's what.
Todibo.
No, it's Todibo. That's what Martin's told me,
Jean-Claire Todibo.
and he's the one who does the team announcement. So that's yes, not Todibo. Todibo. Anyway,
We
yeah.
saw a debut from Carlos Soler.
Yellow card straight away. Great. Yeah.
Yellow card straight away. People were saying he was lucky not to get the second one. He probably was lucky, to be fair. I thought the referee had a bit of an up and down game. He was giving away. He was letting the game flow for things that I thought he should have let the game flow, and then letting the game not flow for things he should have let the game flow for. So it was like a game of opposites. So I don't think Carlos Soler actually deserved his first yellow card, but I think he definitely deserved the second yellow card that he didn't get a yellow card for. I think that's why the referee didn't give him the yellow card the second time round. I thought there was a couple of little neat bits of play. He didn't have enough. He wasn't necessarily heavily involved, obviously, but I think I've seen little snippets of something that he could bring. He got stuck in. He didn't fear about getting stuck in. So obviously, as much as you've got to give these players as much game time as they can to settle in. I think my only concern about Todibo is the fact that he now hasn't featured for a couple of weeks. But I think it depends on how a manager thinks and a coach thinks. So if we do go to the old school, how West Ham were managed last year, then they certainly wouldn't have and will not. Like if we look at what we think they would have done last year coming up to the Chelsea game, they will not swap out Mavropanos and put in Todibo for him. But we hope that Lopetegui does, because I think that's the only way now that Todibo is going to get the experience. I'm doing well saying his name.
You're doing well. It will come. It will come. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be. I mean, I thought with 2 weeks, training, and you imagine get him up to speed. He came quite unfit from League R. He did have much of a decent sort of summer, because I thought he was pre-season, because he was going to go. I think we know that's going to be the eventual plan. But it's when he pulls the trigger. Yeah. When does he pull the trigger? Does he pull the trigger against Chelsea? Does he pull the trigger against Ipswich? Or before that, but the Brentford away game? I don't know. But there will be a point where that trigger has to be pulled.
Yeah. As long as it's not too late, I think that's the thing. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you need to pull that trigger and then suddenly Emerson's not available for the next 3 or 4 games. Because you really would love to have those players at full strength and then play your solid back four at that moment. So it is what it is. We've rescued a point. I think the game would have been different if we'd have started different. I'm not being cocky with that. I'm really not. Like I'll give Fulham credit. I think Fulham are actually a reasonable side. I think they've got some good players. I think Iwobi's going to thrive off of having Smith Rowe beside him. Iwobi looked like he had a new lease of life when he had Smith Rowe there. I think Smith Rowe's going to add that real creativity, that penetration going forward. They've got options coming off the bench. Jimenez, he once upon a time was a reasonably prolific goal scorer in the Premier League. Yeah. We all know what Muniz is capable of doing. So they've got really good players, and they took the game to West Ham. Traore, threatens with his pace and all that sort of stuff. So they gave as good as they got in the first half and never took their chances, and then West Ham just changed things up. And I do think there's enough in West Ham's tank there to defeat them today on the base of the second half.
I agree, and I think that we got the first half wrong.
Yeah,
and change and mistakes were picked up on, they were worked on, and brought on, and we looked a different side second half, and that should be the blueprint to go forward now.
It should be. Kudus is arguably our best player. Play him where we can hurt the opposition. I completely agree. Yeah. It's so true. Russ, is that us?
That's done, I think. Yeah, that's us done, I reckon.
Yeah. If you are new around here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. I hope you've enjoyed our wonderful matchday content. We'll be back bringing you the 5 things we loved or hated about the game against Fulham. We'll give you. I think is Tommy on tonight.
I think he might. I think he said he's on tonight.
I think Tommy's going to be doing a bit of a kind of late night review of the Fulham game and a bit of a catch up with everyone. So just keep an eye on the channel for that. Maybe a couple of fan reactions, I don't know, and then we'll start preparing for the new week ahead. You never know; it could be a couple of free agents coming into West Ham if you listen to Russie B. If we've got the money or not.
Well, I don't know how it works now because we've already submitted our squad.
Yeah,
so I don't know how it works. So if we sign them, can they? I think they can play in the cup games, but they can't play in the Premier League games until January. Yeah, which seems pointless.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're not far away.
All good. Huh?
Right. We're not far away to January anyway. So thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Make sure you do subscribe, like I said. Join us as we bring you all the content moving forward. And yeah, take it easy and come on, you wonderful irons. Danny Ings. Daddy Ings.